Retro.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall, voice of Hera and Rook Cast, and you're listening to Dennis and Jay on Podcast Stardust. Their behavior is continually unexpected.
Welcome to Podcast Stardust. This is the fully armed and operational podcast dedicated to Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. I'm Dennis Keithley.
And I'm Jay Krebs.
And we are wrapping up this week with a look at some recent Star Wars news and a bit of discussion while, well, at least I wait to go see The Mandalorian and Grogu. Jay's already seen it. But before we get into all the discussion, Jay, you want to go ahead and remind everybody what our social media contacts are?
Of course, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Podcast Stardust.
All right, that is the line. The signal's boosted to maximum output. The shield is down, and we are now broadcasting to the galaxy. So, no, this is not our Mandalorian and Grogu review episode. We're recording this on Thursday night. Jay had an opportunity to go see the movie earlier today. I am seeing it tomorrow. So we will be recording our review and getting it to you on Monday. That is our current plan. But this does kind of give us an opportunity to talk a little bit of news and some other discussion in the interim. As everyone knows, of course, this movie is coming out as well. They call May 22nd the release date, but we all know it comes out on the 21st. That's the way the movies work these days. The big tentpole films get released sometimes on Wednesdays. But anyway,
Right.
So you've seen it. I'm not even going to ask for any of your reactions, non-spoiler or otherwise, until we have an opportunity to discuss it on Saturday.
Nope.
Just going into the movie. So it is the worldwide release in every market except Korea. And I have no idea why that is, but it's being released on 4,300 screens, including 425 IMAX screens. And they are currently projecting an 80 million three-day opening in the United States based on pre-sales and $160 million worldwide, which would in fact make it the lowest grossing opening weekend for Star Wars ever, which, okay, that is not actually dire, considering the fact that the budget for the movie was $165 million. So it's going to make most of that back, and then it's just going to have to pay for the marketing over the rest of the weeks. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people that seem to be up in arms about that. I really don't care. I just want to go and enjoy the movie. That's my plan.
Absolutely. And I think that they're just being a little bit conservative because they don't want to put that out there and then have, I don't want to say backlash necessarily, but and then have people say, oh, I thought this was going to make so much money, kind of thing. Because there's just some people that would do that. So
yeah, I mean, I think these numbers are actually pretty accurate. It's probably plus or minus $3 to $5 million would be my guess on this. And the thing is that Hollywood is wising up as to spending money on movies. The days of just throwing $200 million at a movie, they just aren't doing that as often anymore because people just aren't going to the movies as much. And it's the fallout of COVID. We all got trained that if we are patient, they're just going to release it at home 3 or 4 weeks later. And a lot of people would just as soon sit at home, order in their favorite food from DoorDash, have their own bathroom, be able to pause the movie when they want, and pay. If it's not on streaming already, but just pay $20 to buy it off of your favorite service, as opposed to $10 to $15 per person. Family of 4, family of 5, that adds up real quick. So, yeah, we get it. We all know we all know that rhetoric. Everyone's talked about it these days. We know that the movie industry just isn't what it was 5 years ago. So 6 years ago at that point.
And it is sad. And I get everything, that you just said too. But I mean, and I'm preaching to the choir here with you, and I'm sure all of our listeners, but there's just nothing like seeing a big blockbuster in the theater. It's just something special and magical about that.
Yeah, I agree. It's just that I don't think every theater delivers the same experience.
Sure.
And if I can go to the theater, I mean, I go to the Alamo Draft House hereby, and there's been recent brouhaha that I'm not going to get into with the way that they've changed their ordering and this, that, and the other. But, they have no tolerance for talking. They have good food there. They usually have the best projection, stuff like that. And that's fantastic. But if I go to the local AMC in Cinemark, I'm not guaranteed that same experience. There's going to be people that are on their phones and people that are, and I'm not talking about just looking at the screen. Some people will be talking on their phones, and I hate that. When I go to a movie, I don't care if people are laughing and reacting to the movie, but I don't want people talking. I want it otherwise quiet in the theater. So,
Absolutely.
All right. Did you manage to finish your rewatch of The Mandalorian before you went to see the movie?
I did not. I got through through season 1, and that was it. But it's all good.
Yeah. So I finished all 3 seasons, and then I did all in the middle of that I watched the 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett that The Mandalorian was in. And we've been talking a lot about all the various personal things that have been happening in our lives. You became a grandmother. Colby just graduated from college. Well, this past Monday, DJ graduated from college. And so I had family in town. My parents had never seen The Mandalorian. And I can't remember what we were watching, but a teaser came on television for The Mandalorian and Grogu. And they reacted to it. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, have you guys ever seen The Mandalorian? They're like, no, not at all. And, but they expressed interest in the movie, and they're going to be coming back next week for Alex high school graduation. So I said, okay, well, we were just kind of watching something to watch something and killing some time until we had the next thing to go to. And so I was like, oh, you guys got to check this out. So I put The Mandalorian on episode 1, season 1, and watched that. That was a trip. That was so much fun because they've seen all the Star Wars movies, but they don't watch them like habitually, like the way we do. And they don't watch, they've never watched the Clone Wars. They've never watched any of the Disney Plus series and stuff like that. So all the stuff that we take for granted as like common knowledge was just going like right over their head. And so you had to stop the episodes every once in a while so I could answer questions. And then, and there was a couple times where, like, based on the questions they're asking me, I would just preemptively pause and just like, okay, this is why this is important, because I knew they were going to ask. And so, and now you could just enjoy the scene.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But the revelation of Grogu was just like that, like before we could continue with episode 2, was like this whole enormous conversation. Like, wait a minute. When does this take place? Does this take place? Because they thought that was Yoda.
Okay.
And so they're like, how long ago is this? And I was like, no, this takes place with Ranger Journey. It's like, so that's not Yoda. It's like, no, it's not. Who is it? I was like, you'll have to wait till you get to season 2. But it was fun. It was just
cool.
Well, it's an opportunity. We've talked about this before. Every once in a while you get those stories out there that someone is watching Star Wars for the first time, and the person that's with them is watching them more than they're watching Star Wars, just to see how they react to everything. And so this is the closest I'm likely to ever get to that. Right. I mean, it's just that a new Star Wars property that, if you do not follow Star Wars, could be potentially confusing. And so getting to watch them and take it all in and digest what was happening on the screen, what all this stuff meant, and trying to put pieces together. It's the, they were surprised to see Carl Weathers in this show.
Oh, okay.
And, the notion that, and then the idea, the rules of the Mandalorians, and trying to figure out why the bounty hunters were so bothered when Mandalorian went back and rescued Grogu and that type of thing. It was fun. It was fun, but they left, and it was funny because they could not get the name Mandalorian straight. It was I can't remember all the weird ways they were trying to pronounce it and say it, but at any rate, they were planning to go home and get a subscription to Disney Plus so they could try and watch the rest of the series before they come back next week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, because the plan is, in our downtime, I'm going to take them to see it, because they're going to be here for a few days for that graduation.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's just a rare opportunity, right? It's like, I've always wanted to be in the room again with someone other than, like, don't get me wrong, I love showing Star Wars to my kids, but the idea is like someone that could really appreciate the nuances of everything that was going on. They hadn't seen this stuff before, and just see
Yes.
the reaction to it. So, yeah, that was
Yes.
fun.
And being the resident expert
Mhm.
definitely helps a lot as well.
Well, and it's also like that judgment, like how much explanation is too much, right?
Sure.
You just wanted to stay in the moment, and I was like, given the opportunity, like we could pause this and I could tell them about stuff for 30 minutes.
Mhm.
But it occurred to me, as like, there's a whole lot more reference that they need. And so I tried to keep explanations down to like 60 seconds, 30 to 60 seconds. That, oh, this guy, he's oh, well, they had the flashback scene when the pauldron was getting made from that first piece of Beskar, and he's
Mhm.
down, and he was, remember when he was a kid, and they hid from the battle droids, and
Mhm.
then the Mandalorian showed up, and they're like, "Is that him?" And I was like, "Yes." And then, like, well, wait a minute, what? They kind of recognized the droids from the prequels, and so I had to basically explain what was going on there. But there's so much more I could have told them about that, but
Right.
that would have taken too long, and we just want to get back to the show. So,
Right, right. It's so funny that you say that because I just saw a meme of someone that had said, "This is me trying to contain all of my Star Wars knowledge when someone asks me a question." And it was like a 2-liter bottle of pop or soda that someone had shaken up and they were trying to keep their hand over top of it so
yeah,
it didn't explode.
yeah, yeah,
And it's true because, we could launch right into an entire history lesson and pull out the, flow charts and all the things, but it's hard to draw back on that sometimes. It
right.
really
But what I discovered is that they were able to enjoy the show without all the explanation, and
Mhm.
just the little bit that I gave to them enhanced it. And so,
Nice.
for us,
Mhm.
who are really embedded deep within all the Star Wars lore, we appreciate it on one level, but this really is enjoyable for people who just don't know all the ins and outs of Star Wars. They may have
Oh,
seen
for
they've seen
sure.
the movies, but they haven't read all the books, they haven't read the comics, they haven't been watching all the Disney Plus series and then keeping up on all that stuff, but they were still able to get enjoyment of it, which is pretty cool. It was
Mhm.
good to see that firsthand.
Yep. Well, it's just like when you eat something and it's delicious, but then you add just a little extra flavor to it. That's what the little added knowledge does for people.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so be on the lookout for our discussion of the Mandalorian and Grogu on Monday. But let's get
Can't
into
wait.
some other news here, and I'm excited about this, but I have some catching up to do. We and just announced the comic series The Fall of Kylo Ren, coming to us from Marvel Comics, which will be written by Charles Soule with art by Will Sliney, who's done a lot of great work and done the Star Wars comic realm, and this will be debuting on August 12th. And I just we don't know a whole lot about this yet, but Charles Soule has kind of been describing it as the third story in the Kylo Ren trilogy. We've had The Rise of Kylo Ren and then The Legacy of Vader, which I need to read because I've heard good things
Me
about it, but
too.
I haven't gotten around to reading that yet. And now we're getting this. So I just find this interesting, Jay, because we've been living in this micro era after the announcement that Adam Driver and Soderbergh were creating this Hunt for Ben Solo movie,
Yes.
and it didn't
Mhm.
happen. But we're getting more and more Kylo Ren / Ben Solo content, and apparently there was like a presence at the premiere of the Mandalorian and Grogu. People basically campaigning to get the Hunt for Ben Solo made. But there is a desire, there is a hunger for this more of this character.
Oh, yes, and I know we've got a full schedule, and we always say, "Oh, we're gonna try to add this and add that." I seriously, Dennis, would love to add this to our
Mhm.
schedule just because of the fact that, number 1, Charles Soule, I know he's one of your favorites as well, but I have really, really come to appreciate him just from all of the different types of material that he's given us, especially with the High Republic and all of the different comics and things. And he has really reshaped, and I want to be careful how I say this, but how invested fans understand Star Wars. I'm not
Mhm.
trying to be gatekeepery, but I'm talking about those that are, like we were just talking about, really highly engaged and
Right.
like to spend time digging into all of the connective tissue that is Star Wars. And I feel like this series is really going to flesh out a lot of what Kylo Ren's story is. And I think that this is something that I really want to put on my summer like essential reading at this point, because I just think it's going to be amazing. And the fact that Will Sliney is also doing the art, he's done it throughout. So that just gives a really nice unified visual identity, I think, to this entire series too. So yeah, I really need to get into this. And this makes me even more excited to want to do it.
All right. Well, I think we need to find a gap in our schedule for June and July to catch up on Legacy of Vader. It's a 12-issue
Yes.
run, but catch up on those and we can discuss that at some point on the show. So be on the lookout for that coming soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed Charles Soule's work. It's just hard to keep up with all the Star Wars comics
It
uh,
is
this day and
truly.
age. There's usually, you know, 6 to 10 issues of various Star Wars comics coming out every month, and so it's a lot. When
Mhm.
they first started publishing them back in 2015 with Marvel, it was 2 per month, which was pretty easy to do. It was the Star Wars title, it was it was the Darth Vader title. Then they add the Princess Leia miniseries, and then they got away from that. And then eventually they added Dr. Aphra, and they had other little miniseries that would come and go, but you were really only talking 2 to 4, maybe 5 issues a month. And I was writing reviews for every single issue of Star Wars that came out,
You
but
were,
it
yeah.
got too hard to keep up with. So, but hey, I've got a Marvel Unlimited account. I need to dive back into that. So, anyway,
Mhm. There you go.
all right, yeah, but be on the lookout for that on August 12th, and possibly us talking about Legacy of Vader before that sometime this summer. All right, well, we have the unfortunate responsibility of passing along the news, if you haven't heard it already, that Star Wars lost one of its own with the passing of Tom Kane at the age of 64. And of course, he is most famous for his work as Yoda, Admiral Yularen, and the narrator for the Clone Wars. But he really has an extensive resume of work in Star Wars projects that goes all the way back to 1996 when he made a Star Wars debut doing the voice of Levo in Shadows of the Empire. But he'd been ill for a while, so this is not completely unexpected news, but sad nonetheless. I've seen basically everyone that was in the Clone Wars putting tributes to him on their social media accounts, and those have been very sweet. Did you ever get a chance to meet Tom Kane?
No, he's one of those that I would have loved to, though, because
Mhm.
if as you have in our notes, all of the things that are on his resume, if you will, is just so expansive. And, he's one of those that, yeah, I would love to have met. And I did not. Have you ever met him?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which celebration it was, and I believe it was Star Wars Celebration Chicago back in 2019. And so I, did an autograph signing with him, and so he signed a picture of Clone Wars Yoda, and I've got that somewhere floating. I have so much art and things that I've got signed that I need to get framed and up on my walls, but every time I plan on doing it, I end up doing something else. So that's on me. But at any rate, it was fun. It was not the gold standard. I think for me, meeting Star Wars celebrities is the likes of some the interactions I had James R. Taylor and Sam Witwer, um, Tia Sakar. Those were three, and Vanessa Marshall. Those were the ones that just really, really took their time and gave you an opportunity to talk to them and didn't just sign and move you on. But
Hmm.
I didn't get as much time with Tom Kane, but it was fun. I can't remember everything that was being said during it, but he he took the picture, he signed it, he was being silly, he was laughing with all of his guests, and it was fantastic. And I've heard him interviewed on the likes of Coffee with Kenobi and other podcasts, and unfortunately he had his health problems before we were really ever in a position to try and get him as a guest on this show.
Hmm.
And he was having problems talking for years.
Right, right.
I believe he had a stroke, but
He
don't quote
did.
me on that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so there he had a lot of health issues, which was unfortunate in the later part of his life. But the one thing I keep seeing people point out that I think is absolutely dead on is that you know he was the narrator for the Clone Wars. And so every single of those episodes, he was the opening crawl for that.
Yes.
He was welcoming in the new generation of fans to every episode by breaking down what had happened and what was just about to happen.
Yes. And I know when we're doing our Clone Wars rewatch, obviously, right
Mhm.
now series. And when I sat down to watch the one that we're going to be talking about here in the next episode, it really hit me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, we just lost him. And it just, yeah, it hit hard.
Yeah. I was trying to get together a list of everything he had done in voice roles for Star Wars. And in our notes, you can see 49 entries. That's not everything
Yeah.
because I grouped like all the Lego Star Wars stuff together in like 2
Mhm.
entries, and there's a whole bunch of that. And frankly, it was taking me so long that I just stopped writing down all the roles and just was writing down some of the projects that he did. And there were some surprises for me along the way. I mean, if you've heard Yoda in a video game outside of maybe the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, it was Tom Kane doing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Similarly, if you heard Admiral Akbar in a video game, it was Tom Kane doing it. And the number of times he did C-3PO also surprised me. I just kind of took for granted that Anthony Daniel so owned that role that he wasn't letting anybody else do it. But apparently there were circumstances when he either wasn't available or he just wasn't doing it. And
Mhm.
Tom Kane was doing the voice for 3PO, like Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars.
I saw that in our notes. I know I was surprised by that as well.
Yeah.
There's a few other ones in here too.
What other ones stood out to you? Anything in particular?
Well, of course, Robot Chicken, because that's one of
Yeah.
my very
I
favorite things, obviously,
I chuckled
ever.
when I saw that. I was like, Jay's gonna latch onto that one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then I see that you have that he did Princess Leia in the Lego Star Wars 2 as well. I had no idea.
I was trying to figure that out, and I'm wondering if it is this. In some of those early Lego games, they weren't using any dialogue. They
Mhm.
were just kind of making grunts and noises and things.
Ah, okay.
And so,
Mhm.
because I put that down with some question marks and exclamation points in our notes, and then reflecting on it, I was like, oh yeah, they didn't actually talk in those games. In later games, they would either like use the dialogue directly from the movies and stuff like that, or they would have voice actors record dialogue from them. But
Mhm.
in those first 2 Star Wars Lego games, they just kind of had the characters do screams and grunts and things like that. So I think
Mhm.
that's probably what it
That's
was.
true. Mhm, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes
But
sense.
I
Well,
mean,
what surprised you?
I don't know that any one particular role surprised me, but I'm trying to think of a game that I played that he wasn't involved in. I mean, there's the Shadows of the Empire, the X-Wing games, the TIE Fighter games, all the games that came out around the Phantom Menace, Knights of the Old Republic games, the Force Unleashed.
Mhm.
I mean, you name it, he was involved in these things. And the Yoda voice and the Admiral Darn slash narrator, which are essentially like the same voice, are so identifiable that you pick them up. But I'm looking at some of these things and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize he was in that. And I don't even know
Mhm.
what,
Mhm.
sometimes I didn't even like know the character. I mean, it really caught me off guard that he'd done C-3PO because that is so different from the Yoda and Yularen
Truly.
voice. So,
Right, right. Very
but
talented. We lost a
yeah,
legend, that's for sure.
yeah. And it's trying to figure out how to say this, but I wish we just had another opportunity to like to see him or get a send off for him before this. But
Yes.
it just was things being the way they were that just didn't happen. And that may have been his wishes for privacy there at the end. But
Mhm.
I'm just
Mhm.
glad I did get the opportunity in 2019. That was kind of my goal at that celebration. I got like Ian McDermott, but I really went around collecting. My goal was to get like people that had been like active in Star Wars like most recently.
Mhm.
So, that was Sam Witwer, that was Tia Sakar, that was, because I had gotten a bunch of the other Rebels cast from the previous celebration. So just kind of like trying to get people that were recent in Star Wars to kind of complete the collection and things like that. But I'm glad I took advantage of that when I could.
Absolutely, and we said it so often that if there's someone that you truly want to get an autograph or meet, do it because you just never know, and of course, tomorrow's not promised for any one of
Right.
us, but it's also a lot of these character actors are really getting up there now too, and so we really need to take advantage of that when we can, for sure.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. Well, Tom Kane, thank you for everything. Rest in peace. And we remember him for certain.
Mhm.
So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this week's Star Wars news. And really looking forward to recording again for Monday
Yes.
with the Mandalorian and Grogu. This is, we've only done one movie on this podcast when it was out in theaters, and that was The Rise of
Yes.
Skywalker. Because
Crazy to think about, but yes.
yeah, I mean, we're in the middle of year 7 of this podcast right now, but we, Starship Savers and Scoundrels ended right before The Mandalorian debuted, and The Rise of Skywalker came into theaters, and so those were like the first big things we covered. And if you had told me then we were going to be waiting this long for another Star Wars movie, we would have been getting on average one per year. I would have said, no way.
Right?
But here we are. We're finally getting another brand new Star Wars movie. So it'll be fun to finally get a chance to discuss that and break it down. And as our calendar stands right now, we only have the one dedicated episode for it. But I have a feeling we'll be sneaking it into some of our weekly news discussions as we get through the next few weeks and get in additional showings and the like. So be on the lookout for that. So anyway, this is the part of the podcast where I thank you all again for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed the discussion. And I'd like to remind you, as I always do, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you haven't done so already. We're pretty much available on every podcatcher, including the one you're listening to us on now. And we would also appreciate your ratings and reviews. I keep meaning to go back, and it always slips my mind to look at some of the comments on places like Spotify, because I know you all are leaving them, and I do appreciate those. But there's so many podcatchers, it's hard to keep up with all that stuff. But I'm going to try and make an effort sometime soon and maybe gather up some of that feedback so we can get to it on the show. And if you want to catch the entire back catalog of the show beyond the 100 or 200 episodes you're likely to find on your podcatcher, I'd invite you to go check out the show over on retrozap.com. We are part of the RetroZap Podcast Network, along with some of our other great shows. And we all make our home over on retrozap.com. And you can find everything we've ever done over there. So if there's something from the past 6.5 years that you want to get our take on, go over there and you can find it. And then, Jay, you want to go ahead and remind everybody where we can find on social media and elsewhere on the internet?
My pleasure, as always. So the easiest places to connect with us is on Facebook and Instagram at Podcast Stardust. And as Dennis was mentioning, you can also leave us comments on any of our podcatchers as well. And you can also listen to all the shows on YouTube and YouTube Music. So no videos on those, just audio. But again, those do support subscriptions and comments and the like. So please head over to both of those and share those out with your friends. And we also maintain a Pinterest board with all kinds of fun things for everything Star Wars. And if you'd like to email us your thoughts on anything, especially if they don't necessarily fit into the comment box on any of the podcatchers or on social media, you can drop us a line at podcaststardust@gmail.com. And if you'd like to rep Podcast Stardust at the movie theaters, you can hit up the link in our show notes. That'll take you to our TeePublic store, and you can pick from one of 7 different show logo designs available on all kinds of apparel and some home goods as well.
What do you got going on in cosplay?
All right. So as always, you can catch me over on my Instagram, which is at j.snipscosplay. So I've been posting quite a bit here lately. I had my recap from May the 3rd from Art on the Alley and some other fun things. And then the plan is actually this Monday that I will be appearing in Medina, Ohio at Operation Fandom in my Mandalorian cosplay with a few other Mandalorian cosplayers as well. So if you're in the area, you can stop by and say hi in between cookouts and hot dogs and the like. So check out my Instagram for details on that. And once again, that's j.snipscosplay.
Okay, so upcoming on the show, as we've been talking about, the plan is to have our review of The Mandalorian and Grogu on Monday, and that means we are going to push our weekly The Clone Wars rewatch discussion to Wednesday. So be on the lookout for those. With that said, thanks for listening to episode 1037 of Podcast Stardust, everyone. Have a great weekend. Enjoy The Mandalorian and Grogu. And until next time, this is the way.